Welcome to Sizzle Fantasy Sports, the channel with the most sizzling hot fantasy takes and analysis, presented by your host, Gavin.
Rodgers clean pocket, throws the middle of the end zone. Devonta, touchdown, and a dagger!
How's it going, you guys? Welcome back to the SFS channel. My name is Gavin, and today Eric and I have got some Dynasty-styled fantasy football content for you guys. We're going to be going over our top 5 rookies in the 2021 NFL Draft Class. But before we get into today's video, if you guys haven't already, make sure to go down and the link you see at the bottom of this video, go check out our Patreon account for some exclusive content to the SFS channel. For as little as $1 a month, you guys can support the brand and help this thing take off and grow even bigger. So let's not waste any more time. Thank you guys, and let's get into today's video. All right, we're going to start out with number 5 here and go in descending order up until our number 1 overall player. But at number 5, we've got Cadarius Toney of the Florida Gators. Toney is a guy who I think has a lot of talent. I think can translate very nicely to the NFL, but I think he's a bit of a raw prospect right now. His routes aren't quite at where I would like to see them at. I think he's definitely a guy who has elite athleticism and can do some really special things in space. I've seen him put his shoulder down and be an exceptional athlete, and I've also seen him do some very nice things with his juke move. So I really like what he can do. He's got some nice burst, and he's very explosive. But like I said, he's a bit raw at this point in his career. And I think he could use some more development with his routes on the other precision parts of his game.
Yeah, I think that in the NFL, he's going to go maybe first, second round to a team that needs some wide receiver depth. I don't know if he's going to be an instant impact, but he's one of the better receivers in the draft. He could develop into one of the better young receivers in the league if he does crisp up those routes, which is something that we really care about for fantasy football. But he's got the athleticism. We like where he could go. I think if he gets a nice quarterback to throw to him and can kind of guide him, even if his route running isn't great, and he can, get some run after catch, I think he could be a very good fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah. Number 4 here, we've got Rashod Bateman of the Minnesota Gophers. Bateman is one of our favorite prospects in the draft class. He made our top 10 Dynasty Rookies videos with all of the positions taken into consideration. So clearly we have a lot of respect for Bateman's game. I think whereas a guy like Cadarius Toney is an elite athlete, we see maybe not quite as much athleticism out of Rashod Bateman's game, but he is a very polished player. His routes are exceptional. He is very good in his positional awareness and where the cornerback is in regards to the route he's running. So I really like what I see from this guy. I almost see a little bit of Devonta Adams. I think if he goes to the right spot with a good quarterback, he could be an instant impact player and a guy who, as a rookie, we talked about this with Justin Jefferson last year, he already looks like a seasoned route runner and veteran with the way that he plays the game, and I think Bateman could be that player.
Yeah, like you said with Devonta Adams, he didn't start off as a physical beast. Right now, he is one of the more athletic receivers in the league, and he wasn't like that, and neither is Rashod Bateman at this point, but he could develop. I think he's coachable. He plays on Minnesota. He's not playing in a great wide receiver team, and he doesn't have a great quarterback, but he shows those intangibles for a NFL receiver, and I think he will go first, maybe early second round. I don't see him falling, but he could. And I think it'd be a steal for any team that, again, needs some wide receiver depth. I don't know if he will be a number 1 guy wherever he goes, like some of the other guys ahead on this list. But he could be a very nice steal in dynasty drafts. And I think that he will be a pretty dang good developing wide receiver in the NFL.
Right. As a Packer fan, I'd love to see Rashod Bateman come and be the number 2 to Adams. I mean, Jefferson last year, we didn't expect him to be the number 1. Obviously, Adam Thielen was already in Minnesota, but Jefferson still had 1,400 yards in a very productive season. So there's lots of room for Rashod Bateman to be a productive player and a great fantasy asset this season. At number 3, we've got Jalen Waddle, the Alabama Crimson Tide wide receiver. And Waddle's had some injury issues this year. He didn't quite get to play the full amount of games he had this season, but when he was out there, he was exceptional. This guy is he does everything that Devonta Smith does just as well. I think he might be the most explosively crisp route runner in the draft class, if that makes any sense. The way that he can run, this guy flies down the field. but he can also turn on a dime and completely flip his hips and change directions without losing a step, and I think that is a ridiculous talent to have. Mm-hmm. This guy, if he goes to the right team, could be the number 1 overall wide receiver in the draft class. I think I see a lot of DJ Moore in him, another guy who's not exactly the most big and imposing receiver. I worry about the touchdowns he might see in the NFL, but Jalen Waddle is a prospect I would be very excited about if he was on your team.
I see him going to a team maybe like the Eagles or possibly the Dolphins if they are really high on him, but he's going to go to a team with a young QB most likely, which is kind of exciting because he can be such a playmaker. I think that he will help out those young QBs like Tua or Hurts if he does go to those teams. And he's got elite talent, and he combos that with great route running, which is something we really like in the NFL. You need to have that route running because you're going to be able to beat any corner if you can route run correctly, even if you're not an elite athlete with speed. So he combos that, and he could be one of the best wide receivers in this draft.
Yeah, 100% agree. And then right in front of him at number 2 is his teammate Devonta Smith, the Heisman winner for the 2020 college football season. Obviously, Devonta Smith was ridiculous. He averaged 172.5 yards per game in the college football playoff on only 19 receptions. So, obviously, this guy's explosive. The one thing I have a little bit of concern about is, whereas Jalen Waddle still is not the biggest guy in stature, Devonta Smith isn't either. He's actually very, very small. He only goes about 174 pounds. And for a guy who is being regarded as a player who walks in day one and is an alpha wide receiver, I think that's a bit of an issue because he's going to need some help. I think he's going to need to bulk up a little bit. I definitely think he has all the tools he needs to be a polished player and a very productive piece in the NFL, but I'm not so sure he's as instant impact as everyone says. I really like what he could be, but I think that he needs to go to the right space and have the right assets around him to be able to reach his fullest potential.
With that, he didn't even report his weight recently, which means he probably lost some weight, and he's not liking how that reflects him as a player, but he knows he's great. He knows he's going to be drafted high, but he doesn't want that to be the knock, and he wants to be drafted as high as he can.
Right.
And one of those teams is the Miami Dolphins, and I would love to see him reunite with Tua. It would be a fun combo. He's a very fast receiver. We don't see Devontae Parker be a very fast receiver or Williams there, so they need a fast guy. He's got the route running. We have seen it. Is he going to be what we think in the NFL? I'm not sure, but he is an elite talent. It would be fun to see him with, again, a young quarterback just like Waddle. I think he'll be very good in fantasy right away. I think he's going to play, for the most part, every game and be a part of an offense wherever he goes. We'll see if that is the same volume as someone else, or maybe our number 1 guy, who may just be a number 1 receiver on whichever team he goes to.
Right. I think you hit everything right on the head there. I think Devonta Smith, I would personally, and I think the most likely landing spot for him is the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. I think that, obviously, I forget if it was Tua or Devonta Smith. I don't remember which one of them leaked that they had actually had a conversation that they would like to reunite. Obviously, teammates in college and probably pretty good friends as well. So I think Devonta Smith would do wonders for Tua's career right now. I think Tua's struggling because I see him. I know it's a lofty comparison, but I think the best scenario you can hope for is Drew Brees out of Tua. Obviously not a huge quarterback. He doesn't have the size, but he does have the precision and the ability to throw to the open guy. So right now he doesn't really have that. His receivers are big jump ball guys. They don't get too much separation. They're good down in the red zone, but he needs someone that can run routes and win deep. I think Devonta Smith would be the perfect fit for him there in Miami. And then our number 1 guy, Jamar Chase, didn't play this season. It doesn't matter for us.
No.
I think Jamar Chase walks into an NFL roster and immediately asserts himself as the wide receiver 1 for that football team.
We saw Justin Jefferson, elite route runner. Jamar Chase is, honestly, in college, he showed even better route running than Jefferson in some cases. That whole team, Terrace Marshall's on LSU, and they were stacked for Joe Burrow, and I thought Joe Burrow was the reason Jefferson was so successful, but looking back, it's because of that elite route running. It's the same with Jamar Chase. He will go to a team in possibly the top 10, and he will become number one, if not number two, receiver on that team. And I think he will be very fantasy relevant. That's why I think he should be number one, because he's going to make the biggest impact right away. At least that's how it seems. He's not a super athlete, but he's physical, and his route running is the big thing for translating to the NFL.
Yeah, I would be shocked if we don't see 2 wide receivers go in the top 10 of this year's draft. I think this is a very offensive draft class, whereas the 2019 class a couple years ago, where we saw all those defensive linemen go so early, that was a loaded defensive class. Now we've got the other end of the spectrum. We've got a lot of elite offensive players. And I think, like you said, Jamar Chase, if he's not one of those guys that goes in the top 10, I'd be shocked. This guy, I don't think there was a person out there that would have told you Justin Jefferson was a better prospect than Jamar Chase. And look what Justin Jefferson turned into. He is a very, very amazing player. And what he did in his rookie season was really kind of groundbreaking for wide receivers, because typically you don't see wideouts come in the league their rookie season and be that dominant. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a trend shift here. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, those guys were all great in their rookie season. So I think we're seeing these guys come in and be more and more fantasy relevant, more and more NFL ready in their rookie seasons. And I think Jamar Chase certainly could be the next level of that. His speed maybe is not quite as elite as some other guys in this list, but I think his athleticism and his ability to make plays. I remember seeing a play where he jumped over a defender and hurled himself in a somersault into the end zone. And this guy can do a lot of special things. He has a ton of talent, and he's got the world in front of him for what he can do. So I love to see him walk into a team day one, be the starter, and be that dominant X receiver, because I think he can be a very, very good player. Those were our top 5 rookie wide receivers for the 2021 NFL season. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and turn that bell on so you guys are notified with future videos and episodes. And make sure, go check out that Patreon down. There will be a link in the description. Go support the SFS brand and get yourself hooked up with some exclusive content.